This is the Acing Podcast. My name is Arneet Singh. I am your host. Part 4 of my conversation with Sher-min Yang and Andrew and Sher-min. If you've been following along, you've been following for a reason, because you're having as much fun listening to us as we had talking about stuff. I'm sure I speak for Andrew and Sher-min when I say thank you to everybody who has been following along, because it really is such a joy to be able to feel like you're a part of something during this whole thing. I've said it before, and I will continue to say it as long as it remains true. It's so important to feel connected with people, and there's no better way to do it than just to, get on a call and just riff with people. Without further ado, part 4 of my conversation with Andrew and Sher-min.
I'm fine to be on however, I'm fine to go until 7 if we want to call it, or whenever we call it.
I'm chilling.
Great. I am just, so I think, enjoying conversation with human beings that I can see, even if it's through the power of the internet.
Well, I have wanted to be on a podcast for a very long time because I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I think I would be good at being on a podcast, but
the last time I was
not brave enough to do one by myself.
the last time I was put on a podcast, my most favorite moment was when I absolutely called out the very idea of Harry Potter as being inherently racist, and my co-host was like, wait, what? And I'm like, think about it. You're telling me bloodlines of white people in Britain exclusively control magic and control the world?
Okay, but number one, it's not Britain, though. It's not Britain. There is a worldwide magical community.
Yes, but they never talk about them, and it's never, significant.
But they did in the 4th book. He's a 17-year-old teenager. How much did you travel at 17?
That's fair. Also, though, the people
people unironically at RHS told me at 16 years old, the whole world speaks English. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Also, on the other thing of Harry Potter being weird, hey, have you ever looked at how the people who control all the money are portrayed?
Goblin.
Yeah. You ever think about that as a caricature? Because it's weird.
Well, I'm sorry. I will take this one step up. I think Lord of the Rings is super classist.
That's valid. That's also valid. I am also Star Wars is also dead to me after Rise of Skywalker, though. So
you know what? I went through the entire.
Bargaining. It can't be that bad.
Well, no, I did the whole rewatch. I started from episode 1, and
Why?
3 days. Dude, okay. Just hang on for a second, all right? Because we will have a combo.
Very attractive. I will die on that hill.
I'm saying there's reasons to like it. But so I started episode 1. I made it all the way through to episode 8 to Last Jedi, which I personally think is the best Star Wars movie ever made.
Thank you.
Don't at me.
I love
and I'm really like on the pot. I'm not gonna shit and get up and watch Rise of Skywalker. I can't do it. You know what I did instead? I went to Pirates of the Caribbean. I started watching that instead. I'm putting off Rise of Skywalker as long as I can until I'm sitting on my couch like I have nothing else to watch.
Rise of Skywalker.
I'm a diehard EU fan, so I just refuse to watch the new movies.
That's valid. I can actually totally understand that argument.
Diehard EU fan, Luke Mara, Jade Shipper. I refuse to watch those movies.
Ooh, going with the classics.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm over here. I will say this on my Star Wars nerd cred. My favorite character is Kreia from Old Republic 2. So,
ooh.
I got my absolute nerd cred off of that alone. But no, yeah, the new ones are a remake, a phenomenal movie, and one of the things that fundamentally ruined a series for me, potentially as bad as the Game of Thrones finale.
So here's the problem with being an EU fan. I know that. Does anyone care about spoilers? Oh, I guess you care about spoilers.
Spoiler alert!
Well, okay. Arneet probably does. I've seen it.
Okay, Arneet.
I've seen everything.
Spoiler if I said that Rey and Kylo have something going on.
No, I've seen Rise of Skywalker. I was just talking about rewatch.
Oh, it's weird to see those two characters have some kind of romantic thing going on because that Rey is based on Jaina Solo and Kylo's based on Jason Solo, and I'm like, they're twins in the expanded universe.
Mm-hmm.
Stop giving each other sex eyes. You guys are based on twins.
Where the sequel trilogy failed was a lack of a cohesive through line, right? They bring in J.J. Abrams, who apparently is out of ideas and decides to do A New Hope Revitalized in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And then they bring in maybe the most creative filmmaker of our generation, Rian Johnson, to do The Last Jedi, and hits it out of the park. I don't care what any stands say. The way that he attacked those themes of anybody can be a hero, and let's just acknowledge the past but move on, that kind of thing. Incredible. But then Rise of Skywalker, they lose Colin Trevorrow, or rather they kicked him out on his hind, And another creative filmmaker that I think would have done a really good job with episode 9 brought back J.J. Abrams, who, again, does not seem to have any more ideas.
He's got nothing left in the gas tank, man.
And I also chalk this up to Disney wanting to please everybody at the same time because of the vitriol that Last Jedi got.
Hey, you want to hear how I can turn hating Rise of Skywalker into a socialist rant? Because I can.
Please. That's why I brought you on.
Well, the problem is that, like, when you have corporate entities controlling art, how did you think that was going to produce anything decent?
Okay. As someone who has like worked on financing deals with
oh yeah,
that's exactly what happens. You're right. Like, that's not a theory. That's exactly what happens.
No,
you have corporate entities who finance movies and part of the deal is that they get artistic input.
Yep.
And this is exactly what happens. That's why if you guys have ever seen a movie that seems like it was made by a committee of corporate people, it probably was.
Yep. And this is a big thing where it's like, turns out when you hand something that's so individually, don't get me wrong, I have my gripes with George Lucas because everybody does, and they're all probably very valid. But there is something to be said about George Lucas being the singular vision behind the original trilogy. Like, don't get me wrong, there were other people involved. Obviously, Lawrence Kasdan, a producer I can't think of who's considered the grandfather of Star Wars, who got shoved out during Return of the Jedi. Cannot remember his name right now. Brilliant filmmaker, amazing producer. All three of the lead stars loved him. And he had a far darker ending to Return of the Jedi that was supposed to end with, I believe, Han dead. Yes, there was other stuff, but it was going to lead into the sequel trilogy with Han already gone and Leia by herself trying to forge a new republic and failing. Because
Gary Kurtz?
Yes, Gary Kurtz, because it was supposed to be Leia attempting to forge the new republic by herself, and one person does not a government make. Luke was supposed to leave, Han was supposed to die, and Lucas, being Lucas, wanted to make toys and realized that he didn't want to make money off of the backs of his dead characters and that he couldn't. So he changed it. Then we got the prequels. Then Disney got handed it, and Disney being Disney, Disney'd all over it. Shocker. They wanted to make a thing that was palatable to everybody because that's their job. And that's where I can only harp on them so much because, as Sher-min and I said earlier, corporations are amoral. They don't care. They just want to make the most money they can. And if that means they make an objectively bad film that still makes the money hand over fist, they'll do it.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Sher-min.
Prequels for me is really wanted to like the prequels because, like, fundamentally I like Greek tragedy and I like old Republic things more than I like spaghetti westerns.
Absolutely.
I felt like the prequels had potential and they laid down some themes that were really interesting. They built a world that was really interesting. Lucas just couldn't write it. He just couldn't deliver on those themes well enough.
The things that failed the prequels were wooden dialogue, right? An over-reliance on CGI, which Lucas is renowned for patenting, like, just hundreds of new developments of technology for film. And casting choices. Do you know, okay, half-ass internet research borrowed from The Ringer and the Rewatchables podcast.
Sure.
Just a couple of the names that he was considering for Anakin before he landed on Hayden Christensen. Can you
give him to me? I'm excited.
Okay.
Is it DiCaprio? Is it DiCaprio?
No, so
I would have watched DiCaprio Star Wars.
Actually, yeah. That is one of
seriously?
Them. It is one of them. Yeah. I wanna pull up the list real quick. I wish I knew that we were gonna talk about this, but it's under
you should have prepared a Star Wars bit. Come on, what are you doing?
Well, okay. Next time I will be more prepared for Nerd Corner, okay? I promise.
But you hauled us onto this show. What did you expect?
You need to stay in your lane. Let me
my lane being yelling about socialism.
I guess so. Okay, here's the other one, though, that I would have absolutely loved to see. Are you ready for this? Because I don't know if you're ready for this.
Sure, hit me.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger for Anakin Skywalker?
Heath Ledger was being, he auditioned.
Oh,
and
I would have watched that.
Heath Ledger is Anakin Skywalker with that level of darkness.
Would have watched that.
That could have been good.
He would have been cast before we knew what he was capable of, obviously with the Joker.
Yeah.
But
even what I hate about you, he made that movie good. I don't know if like teen flicks, but like that character had some, like, I don't know, he had some kind of depth to him that most teen movie romance leads don't have.
Okay. Now, you know what? Sold. I would have watched that.
I have it pulled up. All right, you ready? Here are the big ones.
Sure.
Ryan Philippe, Paul Walker, Colin Hanks, Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, James Van Der Beek, Joshua Jackson,
James Van Der Beek,
Leo DiCaprio, and Jonathan Brandis. And in the end, Hayden Christensen got the part primarily because Lucas thought he and Natalie Portman looked good together. Hollywood, everybody.
Oh boy. He does look good.
Even though their actual chemistry was the equivalent of two pieces of wood being nailed to the same thing next to each other.
Though, was it their chemistry or was it the lines they were giving?
It was both.
I would argue their chemistry was worse than Jolie and Pitt or Jolie and Depp in The Tourist.
That's true. But could you see Heath Ledger saying I hate sand?
No, he wouldn't.
No, because he wouldn't have said it. I imagine he would have screamed at Lucas until it got off of the script.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, you know what? If DiCaprio had been cast, then he would have had more say-so with Lucas and more. That's
the difference. I think Hayden Christensen was such an unknown that he just got the script and read it.
Right. And
DiCaprio after Titanic. What is this? What is this garbage?
Well, I mean, that's part of what made Obi-Wan Kenobi at least more memorable, even if not a good character, because Ewan McGregor at that point was famous enough to get some level of leverage out of Lucas, where it's like, no, I'm not saying that. What's wrong with you? But Hayden Christensen, being the unknown that he was, probably ran into that problem constantly, where he's like, I can't correct him.
Yeah. And again, like being a part of something that was so big budget and so like loved by legions of fans, and Lucas gets all the credit in the world for creating this incredible universe of characters, of ideas, of stories, of just everything. His execution as a filmmaker is not great, and that is something that has continued to hamper the storylines treading all the way, not just through the sequel or the prequel trilogy, but also in the original trilogy, because frankly speaking, his effect on Return of the Jedi is what makes Empire Strikes Back the pinnacle of that entire trilogy. It was a movie that was not directed by him, was not written by him, but the story was only created by him, and he was the producer. He obviously had a say-so, but he didn't control the artistic part of it.
Have either of you, while bored, ever read any of the original drafts of Star Wars? Because they're bad. They're really bad.
Online.
You can find them if you try hard enough. There is original writing about how, like, C-3PO was supposed to be like a scummy used car salesman. Luke was supposed to be like a half robot man. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Lucas is a fine idea guy, but needs a really good editor who can just put up with him.
Yeah, so I thought there was something where Luke and Leia were actually supposed to end up together, and then he was supposed to have a sister, and they were going to find his sister. But then they cast Harrison Ford, and like Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford had just like incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
Way more than she had with Mark Hamill. And they're like, okay, we have to put those two together now.
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to do with the leading guy? So they made them like siblings.
Yeah, that's a good...
We all forget
that made it better.
The ultimate tragedy of Star Wars is that the tragedy was done tragically. I mean, ultimately.
That's a sentence in English. God, I know this language sometimes.
You teach it.
Tragically.
The true tragedy of Star Wars is that the tragedy was tragic. God,
done.
It was told tragically. I can't even say it without messing it up.
Like, because the thing is, we all like. I mean, I was too young to really invest myself in Star Wars when the Phantom Menace came out, right? But I knew about it, and when I got to the age, like a couple of years after Phantom Menace came out,
we played Star Wars. Like we played imaginary.
Oh yeah.
Games.
Oh, that was in my repertoire too.
In my like in the neighborhood.
That was the neighborhood staple. That and playing Super Mario Brothers.
Oh God, no! Like Arnie and I would make him like follow me. I would like take water guns, and I would totally try to do the Naboo Palace scene.
Oh, that's adorable. I love it.
Yeah, she has the blaster. She like takes her throne back.
She does.
I like reenacted that scene.
My first film memory is going to see the original New Hope special edition at the Bell Bottega Theater. Like that's it.
Bella Bottega.
Like when I was like 4 or whatever, when the special edition got re-released. Like I remember that. Like I remember that opening scene of like Vader hacking through the first door and like tearing apart. Like that's in my brain somewhere. That's what made me enjoy Star Wars so much. And it's been this like pitiful, slow fall from grace of like, don't make me hate the things that I loved it.
It really is. It's junk TV at this point because you have to suspend a lot of narrative confidence, I guess.
And I can only imagine how frustrated Sher-min's got to feel as an EU person being like, what is this garbage?
Why didn't you just make the Thrawn trilogy? It was so good.
Why did you do this to the Force? Why is it this way now? Why is it all about the Skywalkers and the Palpatines? Who wrote this garbage?
And for me, it's also like I like stories of government, so it's like they built the New Republic. There was a New Republic, and then like they had to patch it together. Why did you just do this plot where 30 years after They celebrated on Endor. There's no point. We just went back to where we were.
Well, I was also watching a video earlier that was analyzing the entirety of the trilogy, but there was a really good point in it where, like, the more you see about certain aspects of Star Wars, the more you realize how awful everyone is. Like, Darth Vader's redemption is entirely ruined by Revenge of the Sith, where you see him murder children. Of like, well, is this guy actually redeemable? Because I'm pretty sure that's a huge wall in my redeemable person.
Oh, it's okay though, because he saved his son, ultimately.
Where it's like, but wait, what about all those children he killed?
There's like a how it should have ended where he's like a good Force ghost, and then all the kids pop up and they're like, you murdered us.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
All right, this is awkward.
Why did you get a good Force ghost? Or like
we
the
need
fact that
full retribution.
Or the fact that like Kylo Ren like dies at the end of Rise of Skywalker, where it's like, yeah, because he would have seen a military tribunal otherwise. Like, are you kidding me? That man would have been in front of a firing
He's
squad.
a war criminal. They're all
He's
war
a war
criminals.
criminal.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, I came to LA to be a screenwriter.
How'd that go for you?
Oh, great. Fantastic.
Sorry, that was massively dickish.
You know what? Honestly though, I've had my hand in helping to write some short films. So I've been getting into some circles, which is
Arnett, I will also throw this out there. I criticize because that was literally going to be what I did in college before I did not get the courage to do that exact same thing. So good on you, buddy. I genuinely thank you for living the dream of two of us.
I'm doing it.
I did not have the courage to do that.
Yeah, I think I realized in college I was a really good English major analytically, but like I was not a creative writer. Like I could not write for shit.
It happens, man.
It's a hard thing.
Essays, I can like analyze and write reviews and talk about things. Cannot create my own content.
See,
I know.
So
I
the
totally
reason
get
that
that.
I wanted to be a screenwriter, though, and ultimately I want to be a director, is because I like you probably have this all the time. You see something out in the world, or you see like a piece of IP that you feel like you could do better, and immediately the gears in your brain.
I walked out of Rise of Skywalker.
And I have like no ability to execute the gears, so they just spin in my brain.
No, yeah. I walked out of Rise of Skywalker with that exact thought of like non-critically and not really angrily, but just like, I can fix this.
Yeah, because you're already thinking of lines in your head that are like, this would have been so much more effective.
This would have been
the same
better.
amount of runtime.
To be fair, and I want to, while I have you guys, I had this idea years ago of like, if Lucas had just written the prequels like the Old Republic series, and you just sub in Revan and Malek's position for Obi-Wan and Anakin, you would have gotten a better story.
I think now Knights of the Old Republic should be the next thing. If that's not what Rian Johnson is working right now, it really should be.
But Arnett, they're doing the High Republic now, and they're reinterpreting all of it. Did you not know this?
No.
Did neither of you know this?
No.
Star Wars is dead to me. I just don't follow it.
Sorry.
After Disney took it over, I don't care. I just have my EU.
That's totally valid. They can't take that away from you. Hang on, no, like I swear to God, I'm not going crazy. That's a thing.
Disney's not powerful enough yet to knock on people's doors and confiscate those materials.
No.
Yeah. Star Wars: The High Republic, initially promoted as Project Luminous, is a sub-series of the Star Wars media franchise set during the High Republic sub-era of the Age of Republic, set 200 years before the events of the Skywalker saga and 800 years after the fall of the Old Republic.
Oh, okay. So
they're rewriting it.
It's not. When did Revan? I thought he was 2,000 years before the fall of the Republic.
Who cares? It's a fantasy film.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because I'm like, that's why I was saying I'm a screenwriter. I've been thinking about how would I write the next, because there's so many swaths of time that haven't been covered that I would love to write.
The time periods go from the Great Hyperspace War with Naga Sadow all the way up to, what was it? Sher-min, you could probably correct me on this. It's there's the Sith warrior with like bio armor. I can't remember his name. He was like in an IDW.
That's all before the Jedi Civil War.
Who cares?
I care.
She's right. I after Rise of Skywalker, the series just dead to me, man. Like, and that hurts to be like, this thing that was so important to my childhood is now just being shoved in a box and forgotten about. But like, it is. I don't care anymore.
You guys are getting me glistening over here right now.
Yes, sir. You're sweating over there, buddy.
I don't watch The Mandalorian. I don't watch.
No.
Okay. I will finish Clone Wars. I did finish Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, the ending of Clone Wars. Good. Holy shit. Like, Siege of Mandalore was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And that's not an overstatement.
Bold claim.
No, and that's considering Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra and all the other animated series that are considered the greatest. But you have to see that particular episode.
I never actually finished Legend of Korra. I should do
man.
that. I got
season
time.
did
It's
you get up to?
quarantine.
What
Huh?
season did you get up to?
I only finished season 1. I'm actually in the minority. I liked season 1.
Dude, okay. Once
Amon
you
was cool.
once you see season 3, okay? Once you see Zahir is maybe the greatest and most complicated and also most sympathetic villain
Sure.
in the entire, like, in animated series in general. He was so compelling. It's
Right.
one of those things where, like, it's a villain who comes on and you're like, oh yeah, no, I do see your point. You're deadly as fuck, but I see your point.
To be fair, I also got Amon's point too of like, but what if the Benders are the ones killing all of us?
Well,
I'm like, wait a minute, right? That's not an invalid point. What if they are all killing us?
Take that populist mentality and multiply it by 10 in terms of intensity and correctness.
To be fair, my enjoyment of subtle storytelling is kind of all over the place. I flicker in quarantine between watching Criterion Collection films and watching tons of pro wrestling. So, meh.
Two things that just
just don't make any sense.
That was part 4. Thank you so much for tuning in. Part 5 is coming very, very soon. It is the last part. This conversation didn't run until the end of the world. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, on SoundCloud. And until then, stay sharp, stay motivated. Peace out.